At the exact moment the clock tipped into a new year, on a stage designed to be flawless, something happened that no one had rehearsed for. Not a speech, not a performance, just a second. A single, irreversible second. In front of millions of viewers, under lights calibrated down to the smallest detail, a celebration quietly slipped off script. What should have been a polished exchange between two familiar faces became a moment people would rewind, replay, and argue over long after the fireworks faded. No alarms sounded, no dramatic music followed. There was only a sharp sound, a pause that felt too long, and a room full of professionals suddenly unsure what came next. Viewers at home leaned closer to their screens, not because something spectacular was happening, but because something human was. This was not the kind of drama anyone plans for. It was the kind that arrives without warning, settles into silence, and leaves everyone wondering whether they really saw what they just saw. And once you notice it, you cannot look away, because moments like this do not announce themselves. They simply happen, and then they stay with you. The New Year's Gala has always been a symbol of control. Every gesture timed, every camera angle rehearsed, every smile prepared in advance. It is a place where mistakes are meant to be invisible, quietly corrected before the audience ever senses them. That night, the atmosphere was no different. The stage glowed with celebration, the audience was relaxed, and the mood was warm. When Songyun stepped forward to receive her Crystal Award, it felt like a natural continuation of the evening's rhythm. Applause filled the hall, the orchestra swelled, and for a moment everything aligned exactly as it should. Standing nearby was Xu Kai, smiling, waiting for his cue, ready to move forward as planned. Nothing about the scene suggested what was about to unfold. The moment itself was almost unremarkable in appearance. A step closer, a hand lifting slightly, a subtle shift in balance. These are the kinds of movements that happen thousands of times on live television without consequence. But this time, something was different. The crystal trophy caught the light, tilted, and then slipped free. The sound it made when it met the stage floor was sharp, unmistakable, and final. What followed was not chaos, but something far more unsettling. Silence. A silence that stretched just long enough to make everyone aware of it. On stage, no one reacted the way scripts prepare them to. Smiles froze halfway. Hands hovered without purpose. The host, usually effortless and composed, hesitated, her expression briefly unguarded. Cameras lingered for a beat too long, unsure whether to cut away or hold the shot. In that fraction of time, viewers saw what live television rarely allows. Confusion without polish. Professionalism momentarily stripped back to instinct. Songyun did not rush forward or step back dramatically. She simply stood there looking down, as if trying to process whether what she was seeing was real. Xu Kai moved almost instantly, lowering himself to gather the larger fragments, his body language urgent and unfiltered. There was no performance in his reaction, only a reflexive need to fix something that could not be fixed. No words carried across the microphones clearly enough to anchor the moment. It existed in gestures, glances, and pauses. What made the incident resonate was not the broken trophy itself, but what it represented. That crystal piece symbolized recognition, years of effort, and the weight of expectation that comes with public success. To see it shattered, live, and unrecoverable struck a nerve because it mirrored something audiences understand instinctively. Careers are built on careful control, yet they remain vulnerable to seconds no one can rewind. The stage did not just hold two actors in that moment. It held the fragile illusion of perfection the industry depends on. As the broadcast moved on, the internet did what it always does when faced with unanswered questions. Clips appeared within minutes. The moment was slowed down, analysed frame by frame, and discussed from every possible angle. Some viewers saw nothing more than an unfortunate accident, a reminder that even the most rehearsed events are still live. Others sensed deeper tension, reading meaning into body language, timing, and expressions. Another group turned their attention to production choices, questioning stage design, trophy weight, and the lack of immediate intervention. Each interpretation found its audience, and none could be proven entirely right or wrong. What is often overlooked is how quickly a shared experience turns into a collective story. People were not only debating what happened, but how it felt to witness it. Many described a knot in their stomach as the silence settled in. Others spoke about empathy, imagining the pressure of standing under that spotlight when something goes wrong. The incident became a mirror, reflecting viewers' own anxieties about mistakes made in public, about moments that slip beyond control. There were no official confrontations, no dramatic statements, no visible fallout that night. Yet the impact lingered because it touched on something deeper than spectacle. It reminded audiences that live television, for all its glamour, is still built on human presence. No amount of rehearsal can completely remove uncertainty. Sometimes, the most memorable moments are not the ones designed to impress, but the ones that reveal how quickly control can dissolve. In the days that followed, the story continued to evolve, not because new facts emerged, but because perspectives multiplied. Each replay added another layer of meaning. Each comment thread became a space where viewers negotiated their own interpretations. The broken trophy became less about blame and more about vulnerability, about how a single second can shift the emotional tone of an entire night. Perhaps that is why this moment refuses to fade. It does not offer closure. There is no definitive explanation to settle on, no clear lesson neatly tied with a ribbon. Instead, it leaves behind a quiet question about expectation and reality, about how we respond when something unscripted interrupts the performance. In an industry built on appearances, that interruption felt unusually honest. If you stayed with this story until the end, it means something in it resonated with you too. At LVT-SHOWBIZ, we focus on these moments, not to judge, but to understand what they reveal beneath the surface of fame and celebration. Thank you for listening, for reflecting, and for being part of a community that looks beyond headlines. If you value thoughtful storytelling that explores the human side of showbiz, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. Your support allows us to keep sharing stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark.